Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Diamond Opal, and here we discuss all things healing, faith, and personal development. So if that is your thing, let's jump right into it. So today's topic I want to discuss is emotions. So I want to start off by saying that my favorite character in the Bible is King David, and not for the reasons that so many other people love him for his valor, for being a man after God's own heart, for being the underdog who defeated Goliath, for being a man with integrity and honoring Saul, and all of these things. He's highly revered for. I struggle to find myself in there sometimes, but one area in which I see so much of myself in is his battle with his emotions. And I believe, not just myself, but I believe so many believers struggle with their emotions from the lens of spirituality. It's like we go through this constant cycle of, I want to learn more about you, God. I'm so in awe of you, God. And then when life hits, it's like, where are you, God? Have you forsaken me? Like, how could you let this happen? Are you even real? And then we come to our senses and it's like, well, I'm sorry, God. No matter what, I trust you, Lord. And then life hits again and it's like, where are you, God? Am I going crazy? What is happening? And we go through this constant battle of our soul, which is our mind, will, and emotions, except we typically ignore the signals that our emotions are trying to send to us by putting Jesus glitter over it until it's too late, until it gets too overwhelming. And then we soon forget that although we are changing and the situations or circumstances are changing, God isn't. There is nothing about God that has changed throughout the process of things, and yet we look at him as if he switched up on us. So unfortunately, we only have a reference of God that is based on our human experiences, which consist of heartbreak, people switching up on us, changing their minds, betraying us, disappointment, inconsistency, and pure mess. So we go into our relationships with God from that broken lens, and we expect him to adhere to our traumatic way of thinking, or else he is just like the rest of them. And this reminds me of that old church hymnal, "It is well with my soul." It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. All right, we're not gonna get on my singing, but I just wanted to convey that. And it's such a beautiful song, but we sing it so ignorantly because we're not even understanding what it means to have a well soul. To have a well soul means that our mental and emotional state is well or healthy. And it doesn't always mean happy or joyful either. It just means that we are consciously and intelligently aware of what our emotional state is, and can tap into what our emotions are trying to tell us about a current situation or season. So emotional and mental intelligence creates a well soul. See, God doesn't just want our spirits to be saved, but our souls to be good as well, so that we can go throughout this life living as he intended, which is why he created so many sources and resources he is the source, but he created so many resources to help us get to that point. See, God isn't mad at your emotions. He isn't even mad that you are feeling emotions, but he does want you to be able to articulate and convey what emotions you are feeling, so that you can then submit them to him for him to remind you of your knowing. And knowing means truth despite the facts. So an example would be, God, I feel sad due to the rejection that I am experiencing from my family and friends. I feel as though I am alone and honestly, no one truly loves me or that I have value. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe I am just unlovable. And I'm sure many of us has felt some form of that feeling throughout our life. And that's okay to have and to feel those things. But when we truly submit and surrender our honest emotions, our valid emotions to God, then he can remind us of his word and what he says. which is we are His masterpiece, fearfully and wonderfully made, created in His image or likeness. So no matter what we do or what we go through, the value is still in us. And He knew what we would do before we were even born. So nothing is a surprise to God, and nothing could ever make Him not love us, which combats the feeling of being unlovable and unworthy or not having value. You are worthy because the one who created you said that you are, which means that no one else, not your family, not your friends, not your significant other, not even yourself, has the authority to tell you or make you feel otherwise, unless we give that to them. So does this stop you from initially feeling those feelings? Absolutely not. Does this mean that your emotions are a sin or a bad thing? Absolutely not. Jesus was the only perfect being to walk this earth, and yet He felt all of the emotions, which means that it is okay to feel those emotions. However, it is crucial that you do not allow those emotions to overtake you to the point where you do not allow your knowing to override your feelings. And you cannot allow the harmful thoughts that the enemy places within your mind to become your own. So I heard this statement a few times, and I try to replay it in my mind and keep it as I go through my spirals or have self-sabotaging thoughts. And that is, God didn't create you to hate yourself or to speak negatively about yourself. Those are learned behaviors based on the brokenness of those around us projecting onto us, or the enemy planting those thoughts. So it's important that when they come, you take them captive and really ask yourself, do I really feel these things about myself? Why do I think these things, or why am I feeling these things? Are these my thoughts, or where did they come from? You will start to see that those thoughts didn't originate with you because they're from the enemy. And so we have to come out of agreement with them and send them right back where they came from, which is to the enemy. See, Psalms 139:17 says, "How precious are your thoughts about me, O God. They cannot be numbered." The perfect God thinks precious thoughts about imperfect beings like us. Like, that should let you know how valuable you are, not just to God, but also to the lives and the livelihoods of those who are depending on us becoming and stepping into the versions of us that God created us to be and that God sees us as. I love David so much because although he has constant battles in his mind and with his emotions, he always ends up resting in the realization of how God truly is. How God is. His love for God and his desire to have a heart like God's brings him back every time he begins to spiral. It says, "But even in darkness, I cannot hide from you, for darkness and light are the same to you, for night shines as bright as day. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex." And that made me think about a post that I made on Threads a couple of months ago when I was experiencing some things. And so I said, as I'm sitting here crying good tears, because I've overcome a lot of mental, physical, and spiritual battles this last year, I remember that David also went through a lot of mental, physical, and spiritual battles, and he was also anchored in God. Him being anchored in God didn't exempt him from having mental spirals and emotional breaks. It just meant that at the end of those moments was God's peace that surpassed all of his current understandings and the comfort that he needed to keep going another day. It brought a smile to my face because it helped me to give myself grace for my own human experiences. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can be anchored and still experience a lot of things that makes you want to break. But we have to then remind ourselves of what's at the end of that moment, and that's God. God is at the end of that moment waiting to tell you that He is proud of you for choosing to keep going, and that He is with you even in the midst of the storm. And so in a dark world like we are living in right now, during such dark times, it makes sense that we fall victim to or find ourselves in darkness, dark places, dark moments, dark cycles, dark seasons. But we must remember, simply as David did, that even in darkness, He is right there with you. Now, simply move towards His light. So, all right, that's all I had for you guys today. I hope that whoever this message was intended for, that it was received with open heart and a willingness to embrace their emotions and understand that it's not a bad thing. It's not a sin. Like, emotions are from God. God gave us emotions to feel, but sometimes it is a little bit bigger than us, or it feels bigger than us. And that's why we have a God that is so big that He can take on what becomes too heavy. But we begin to grow when we learn emotional intelligence and are able to adequately interpret and convey those emotions to God, so that we have an understanding, but also so that He can tell us and remind us of what the truth is, of what our knowing is. We know that we were made in His image, that we were made in His likeness. We know that we are powerful beings who was given authority and dominion. We know that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, but we don't always feel like it. We don't always feel it. And so during those times, it's important to hold on to something bigger than us, and that's God. That's His light. That's His word. And so I hope that everyone has a beautiful day today on purpose. And as always, I love you guys, but God loves you so much more. And until next time, peace.